Hey, it's Katie Neal, and recently Taylor Swift was our guest on the Superstar Power Hour as we celebrated the re-release of her sophomore album, Fearless, Taylor's version. The original came out 13 years ago in 2008, and it became the soundtrack of our most love-struck, most teen angsty years. And listening all these years later, it certainly brought back a lot of those emotions. And knowing that listening to this album was very nostalgic for fans, I asked Taylor if it was very nostalgic for her to record.
It was so nostalgic to re-record Fearless because it was an album that was so important in my growth as a person and as a girl and as a woman and as a songwriter. And it was kind of that album where it was the perfect storm of like coming of age and coming of age in my career too. It was my breakthrough album for sure. And I think that going back in and redoing it, I was so happy and excited to sort of bring like my voice and my insight of having lived 15 years plus longer than this album, to kind of bring that to the album, if that makes sense, to kind of bring your, as much wisdom as you have, and a voice that's sung more concerts, learned more tricks, kind of is a bit more versatile, I would hope. It was fun to think that it could possibly even be improved, that's sort of a daring thing to say, but that was the dream, and that was kind of what I felt when we were doing it. I was like, wow, I'm really lucky to get to tackle this again and to feel like these new versions are better? ? That's how I feel, at least.
I mean, it's no knock to the originals, but these versions really do show off Taylor's mature vocals as only a seasoned artist could. Taylor would go on to release 5 singles from the original Fearless album, starting with the wildly successful Love Story, followed by the heart-wrenching song White Horse, which Taylor told us she still gets emotional every time she sings it.
The song White Horse was a song I wrote with Liz Rose, and it was just about comparing the fairy tale imagery we are taught as kids, comparing it to what can really happen in, young love and young heartbreak, and how you just expect a happily ever after type thing, and then you don't find it, and you're faced with this reality of, oh, this isn't Hollywood, this is a small town, those kind of realizations that hit you. But I've always been so proud of this one, and every time I sing it still, I get so emotional, because it's really that emotion that's just on the surface. Every time I hear this song, it's like, it's too late for you and your white horse to catch me now. It's like that coming of age where you realize you're stronger than wanting that happily ever after. You want something better for yourself. You want something different, something more independent, something freer than even what you were told about in fairy tales.
White Horse really is one of those songs that just hits you a little bit differently all these years later. The next single that Taylor would release off of the original Fearless was You Belong With Me, and it would go on to become a massive pop country crossover success, getting 3 Grammy nominations. And it was so fun to listen to Taylor's version of this song, and she told us all about how there was one lyric in the song she never really expected to hear fans always screaming back at her.
You Belong With Me is a song that just absolutely changed my life. It was one of those songs that, I had written about unrequited love and crushes at school, and I never would have imagined how many people I would see in a crowd one day screaming, she wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts, or that there would be think pieces about it, or that it would be like this thing that launched me and my career into this place that I never imagined it would go to. It was this song and Love Story that really, really changed my life in a huge way. And I've had so much fun with the fans singing this into crowds over the years. So getting to redo it was really a joyful experience, because I kind of was looking back on all of those memories and thinking, wow, I'm really lucky.
And I feel very lucky to have been there in the crowd screaming the lyrics, she wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts. There are so many songs off of Fearless Taylor's version that give us so many emotions. And so I asked Taylor, what song off of Fearless Taylor's version does she feel like she can relate to most at 31 that she wrote in her teenage years?
Writing a song like 15 when I was 18, I felt like I had a lot of insight, and I felt like I could look back with nostalgia and wistfulness at being 15, because you do learn so much from the age of 15 to 18. But I do remember at the time there were some critics who were like, really? How much life have you really lived from 15 to 17 or 18 or whatever? And I get that now, because at 31, when I'm going back and singing 15, it really hit me incredibly hard, actually. So like a song like that, or also The Best Day, oh my God, it was so hard not to just be bawling. Like I had to stop so many times in the end of that song, just because I don't know, my emotions have overtaken me. I'm 31 years old and I'm soft.
I don't think that anyone can listen to The Best Day without sobbing. But going back to 15, that was the fourth single that Taylor released off of the original version of Fearless, and it was all about her best friend Abigail and the experiences that they had in high school.
The song 15 is a song that I wrote on my own, and I wrote it about the journey that my best friend Abigail, who, we're still tight. We met in freshman year of high school, and we both had these, trials and tribulations and lessons and adventures and mishaps and heartbreaks and glorious excitements and letdowns. And so I wanted to tell the story of, being 15 kind of through the lens of a friendship, and you see what these two people go through, together as friends and on their own. Yeah, it still gets me, this song, because, those were all real insecurities of like walking in your freshman year and thinking like, where am I going to fit in this massive ocean of people? Like, where's my locker? Like, how do I fit in here? Like, who am I going to be? That's a question that we ask ourselves a lot through the course of life, but I think never more than when we're 15.
15 is truly such a tough age. The fifth and final single that Taylor Swift released from the original album Fearless was the title track, and she told us that she knew as soon as she wrote that song, that was what she wanted to name the album.
Fearless was that was the type of song that as soon as I wrote this song, I knew it would be the title track for the album. It was about sort of fearlessly falling in love and not caring if you're going to get hurt, but it kind of encapsulated, the way I was sort of moving through life at that point. I was just sort of hurling myself into these situations and making this album in a way that hoped for the best and disregarded what could happen if it all went terribly wrong. And I went out into the world, and I got to see, teenage girls and young kids and moms and dads and grandparents like holding signs that said Fearless, and it was just the kind of purest, joyful message for everyone, I think, for us all to feel like we could try to live our lives fearlessly. And, you could take that and it could mean what it meant to you specifically. This song, however, I just, I wanted to write a song about the best possible first date ever. And so that's what we did.
I definitely think that coming out of this pandemic, we are all going to be trying to live our lives a little more fearlessly like we were in 2008. Also, did you catch one of the cats meowing in the background of that clip? I'm not sure whether it was Olivia, Meredith, or Benjamin, but I loved it. There were so many great singles from the album Fearless, and there were so many amazing fan favorite cuts off of the album. So I wanted to ask Taylor, what were her favorite songs to re-record from the original Fearless, or what were her favorite songs to record for the first time from the vault?
I think one of my favorite songs to re-record on Fearless, I think The Way I Loved You and Hey Steven, those were always like low-key favorites of mine, and favorite songs to sing live and everything. And I think having a bit more of a grown-up voice really lended themselves to songs like, The Way I Loved You and Tell Me Why, and songs that maybe I struggled to kind of really master live back when I was 18. They were so much easier to sing now, and they kind of felt more like they fit. I don't know. It was also really fun to do the songs that were from the vault, because these are the first impressions of these songs. And I wasn't, trying to kind of go back and emulate anything that had been heard before. So those are really fun. I really love the song Don't You. I love Mr. Perfectly Fine. I love You All Over Me. That's what basically all the From the Vault songs is my answer.
We love all the songs from the vault, and if we could, we would want to hear every song that Taylor has in the vault. And speaking of the vault, Taylor told me about a song that she released now that she felt like it made more sense to release at 31 than it did back in 2008, and that's You All Over Me.
The song You All Over Me is one that I wrote with a writer who goes by the name Scooter Caruso. His name is Travis Hill. this was one of the songs that I remember us painstakingly going over the lyrics and trying to come up with all these different symbolic imagery references to how it could feel after you have your heart broken, just to feel like you've been ruined by the whole thing. And I think that's one of the hardest things about heartbreak, is feeling like it's damaged you and now you carry that damage with you. So I was really proud of the song back then. I'm still proud of it now. And I think it actually makes more sense to have a 31-year-old person be singing it. So all's well that ends well. And I was really excited because Maren Morris was gracious enough to sing backup vocals on it. And she's one of my favorite artists. So here it is.
We loved seeing Maren Morris featured on this album. And also, we're very excited to see Keith Urban have a feature on Mr. Perfectly Fine, which Taylor told us was actually a very early indicator of the path that her career was going to take.
Mr. Perfectly Fine is a song that I wrote alone. It was definitely an early indicator of me sort of creeping towards a pop sensibility. You know, I've always listened to every type of music, and even though Fearless is a country album, there were always these pop melodies creeping in. But I really love this song, and I love the bridge. I think the lyrics are just wonderfully scathing and full of the teen angst that you would hope to hear on an album that I wrote when I was 17 or 18 or, you know, on that cusp.
So much teen angst on Mr. Perfectly Fine, and we loved it. Now, if you were listening to Fearless Taylor's version and wondered if some lyrics sounded a little bit different, or maybe if a perspective had changed, you weren't wrong. I asked Taylor if she changed or updated any of the lyrics.
I have updated and changed lyrics on some of the... I think I changed a lyric or two on Don't You, but just kind of like two words that I thought, you know, it's a few words. It really wasn't a lot, just phrasing wise. And then I think that's when I changed the perspectives, because that's when we originally wrote it as if it was like it wasn't a duet originally. It was originally about like a girl who, you know, the person she loves comes to her and says, you know, I need some space away from the relationship, and she's like, fine, whenever you want to come back, you can. And I kind of just over time sort of wanted to change the story into, it's, you know, me singing about needing space from a relationship, even though I love the person, and that person being gracious enough to be like, take your time, whatever you need. Because I just hadn't really explored that angle before of like needing your independence and somebody granting it to you, and that making you want to come back to them because you realize that they're the type of person who's always going to let you explore and grow, and that means that they're the person for you. So yes, did change a little bit, but absolutely minimal things. You're mostly hearing from a 17 or 18-year-old brain.
A 17, 18-year-old poetic genius brain. A huge congratulations to Taylor Swift on recreating a masterpiece. And a huge thank you to Taylor for graciously agreeing to this interview. And of course, a thank you for giving us all a reason to live fearless.